what's up guys? It's Winston here back again. Okay, so this is the K712 Pro by AKG. This is a reference headphone that was released back in 2013, so it's a bit old now, running on a few years. But surprisingly, it's still being sold and it's retained its value pretty well. In Australia at least, this retails for, I think above $500, but I did get this from Amazon UK for around 300 Australian dollars. So it's still being sold, and surprisingly this is still made in Europe, this model at least. This is made in Slovakia, at least according to the made on sticker. So it seems like even though AKG have been bought by Samsung these days and they don't really operate in Austria anymore, this headphone is one of the last headphones that was actually designed, engineered, made in Austria, and that's why I think that it holds sort of a special significance. Especially for fans of AKG, the classic AKG sound signature. So let's just get straight into the review. So as you can see, this is an open back headphone. It has exposed grill at the back, so sound can leak in and sound can leak out. So this isn't a headphone that you take on public transport, but as you can see from the design, it is quite bulky, so I don't think you'd be traveling with this too often. It's mostly for studio recordings, referencing, mastering, that sort of thing. And it's really great for that, but I'll get into the sound quality in just a bit. So like classic AKG headphones, this has a self-adjusting headband. So as you can see, it really just adjusts your your head shape, when you put it on. So just like this, and I can still hear me. It's slightly muffled, but not really that muffled. This definitely is a noise cancelling. This headband is made out of leather, genuine leather. And it's quite comfortable actually, because it adjusts to the shape of your head automatically, so you don't have to fiddle with the adjustments or have it uneven on one side, anything like that. So it's quite nice. The one thing that I will say is that these elastic bands here that hold this headband mechanism together, they have a tendency to wear out after a few years, so you might have to replace them or just live with that, I guess. But after 1 year of owning this, I haven't had any issues like that. So they still fit me just as well as they did on the first day, but I'm going to look out for that in a couple of years, and if I do have any issues, I'll update you guys in the comments. What else about, oh yes, the ear pads. Now these are made out of velour material, so they stay very cool in summer. Not like pleather, which insulates your ears and traps heat. This lets your ears breathe a little bit. The foam material is relatively dense, so it's not like a super soft pillowy cushion that you'd expect, but at the same time it is memory foam, so it does conform to the shape of your head over time. And also with glasses, I wear glasses, but this does a good job of staying around it and still providing a good seal, even though I wear glasses, so it's still comfortable. The ear pad diameter is large enough for my ears to fit in fully, and the depth is also quite good. Not as deep as some headphones that I've used before, but not bad. Definitely more comfortable than some wireless headphones that I've used in the past. I can easily wear this for 2 to 3 hours at a time without feeling any discomfort. It's actually one of the most comfortable pairs of headphones I've owned, and that's really good by AKG. Now, oh yes, last thing I should talk about is this cable mechanism. This is a mini XLR connector, so you can find replacement cables. It does come with 2 in the box. One 3-meter cable, straight cable, and one 3-meter to 1.2 meter coiled cable, which is black. So that's good that you get a replacement. A lot of headphones don't do that these days. And you also get an individually numbered serial number. I thought that just mentioned that for some reason. And yeah, you do get this nice orange accents going around the whole headphone, so that's a nice touch. Okay, so let's just talk about the sound quality now. This headphone is kind of unique, flat, I'd say. It has, like I said, this is a reference headphone, so technically it tries to be flat all the way through, and what that means is that you should get an equal mix of bass, mids, treble throughout the whole range, and that's actually really ideal. That really fits to my ideal signature actually. I really like a flat sound. I don't like anything that too boosted in the bass, too boosted in treble, or like a V shape. I'm not a super big fan of that sound signature. This definitely isn't a V shape. It's not exactly flat, I'd say, but that's a good thing, because the way that this headphone characterizes sound, the frequency response of this headphone, it gives it a unique taste on a flat signature, so it's relatively flat. Okay, so I'll start with the bass, right? The bass of this headphone is really good actually. It is quite deep. Now it falls off around 40 hertz, I think, to my ears. And it doesn't rise in the bass like a Harman Target would, so you don't get a really big thump in the sub bass, but it is relatively flat. The thing is that, for my ears at least, compared to something that's super flat like an Etymotic earphone, I can hear a sort of mid-bass, sort of bass boost hump. Not a big hump, just a relatively mild, very gentle slope just in the mid-bass, going down a little bit maybe to the sub-bass. So that gives it a bit of a warm character to it. Sort of like Sennheiser, but not as warm as Sennheiser, not as veiled as Sennheiser. Sennheiser HD 600, that sort of thing. But it does have a tilt that's not exactly dead flat, I'd say. And what that does, it makes music feel more lively, not as dead or sterile as a true flat sound would. So if you do like to have a bit of character in the bass, this definitely provides that without going overboard. So that's a really good characteristic of this headphone that is very unique. And thankfully the bass is quite fast, nimble. I'd say it's tighter than the Sennheiser alternatives. Can't really remember compared to Beyerdynamic, I haven't heard that in a while, but definitely tighter, faster, and more extended than the HD 600, which I have owned for quite a while. Now mids, again, relatively flat actually, up until 1.2 kilohertz, and that's around where the mid-tones of vocals lie, I think. So you will have a bit of a dip there. It's a very slight dip, it's nothing too crazy, but it does change the timbre of vocals a little bit. It means that they are accentuated enough that they don't sound veiled, but it just gives them a bit of a darker, or a bit of a different characteristic because of that little dip there, at least to my ears. But this is really minor. It's nothing I'd say that's too crazy, and vocals to me sound very good, very natural. They just have a little bit of a difference compared to something that would be truly flat, I'd say. But they do stand out quite a bit, and it's not like the vocals are in the background. They are actually, quite high in the mix with these headphones, so it's not like you have a V-shaped veil. That's not what this is. They have a tasteful accentuation, because the dip at 5 kilohertz, it emphasizes the rest of the vocal range. So it emphasizes the higher tones of vocals, I'd say. So it gives female vocals in particular a bit of a higher note to them, a higher, like more high tones rather than the lower tones, if that makes sense. Which I thought was quite interesting, but unless you're comparing this directly to a super flat headphone, you wouldn't notice it. And honestly, I think that this characteristic is quite nice. It's just, like I said, a different take on a flat sound without going super flat all the way. Now treble is really good on this headphone. I think that, I'm not sure whether it has a peak. I can't hear any sort of annoying peaks or dips. To me it sounds quite natural. The treble is smooth, but it's not, what's the word? It's not like jittery or anything like that. There's no like weird texture issues that I can hear with the treble. Compared to the new Hifiman, the budget planer that came out this year, that treble did sound a bit weird to me, a bit artificial. This definitely sounds way more natural than that, and I actually prefer this headphone over the budget, the Hifiman HD 400 SE, but that's another topic for another video. But yeah, there's nothing really I can complain about with the treble. Extension is good, timbre is good, timbre is good, whatever you want to say. I didn't have any issues with that, so yeah, I would say that this headphone is a unique take on a reference headphone. It's not exactly flat all the way as you might expect, but at the same time, the way that it deviates from flat is not in an offensive way. It's in a way that gives this headphone some character, while at the same time remaining flat enough that you can still mix on this. You can still, do referencing on this. I mean, if you're a really big studio engineer, you might be using studio monitors instead of a headphone to mix your music, but for me, I just, in my bedroom, I don't really have the luxury of having really big speakers, and when I do, I have these room modes, these issues in my room where the room affects the speaker response. So that's why I do tend to prefer headphones, because you get a more consistent listening experience. And the K712 is definitely one of the better pairs I've owned. I mean, I've had the DT990 Pro from Beyerdynamic. That was a bit of too much of a V-shape for me. And I had the HD600, which to me, the vocal range in the HD600 does sound more natural, I'd say, than this one. It's just slightly. It's not a big difference. But where this improves over the HD600 series by Sennheiser is the soundstage, which I didn't mention actually. Soundstage in this is quite good. It's a lot wider than a lot of other headphones. Now, you're not going to pretend that it's a speaker. Like, it doesn't sound like it's coming from in front of you. It doesn't sound like it's coming, you know, like an actual speaker would, but at the same time, it does sound a lot wider and a lot more spacious than a lot of other headphones do. Now, in terms of height, in terms of like how big the sound actually sounds, it does still sound like a headphone. You know, it's not like going to be like a huge sound, and not even like a planar magnetic sort of sound, because they have really huge drivers. This driver is around 40 millimeters in diameter, so it's still that sort of headphone localization sort of field, but in terms of width and in terms of like just the left to right balance, even the left, right, center, it's quite nice. It's not like 2-3 blob stage like Sennheiser, which was just left, right, and center. You do have a bit of a three-dimensional sound to this. Not amazing, not the best that I've heard in a headphone. Well, compared to a headphone like the Sony MDR-Z7M2, which has a 70mm driver, that just had a huge like sense of scale. This doesn't have as big of a sense of scale, but it does sound more precise, and it does sound still relatively large for a headphone. So I think that if you're looking for a wide, spacious headphone, you wouldn't be disappointed with the K712 Pro. Well, I think that's all I have to say about this headphone. Let me know if you guys have heard this before. I'd like to know your thoughts about it. I know that a lot of other headphone reviewers have also done a review on this, but yeah, this is just my take on it. I think that it's a very unique sounding headphone, even though it tries to be flat all the way. It is mostly flat, but just with a few deviations that give it some character, some flavor. It works really well for metal music, I'd say, because the driver is quite fast and tactile. Big bass music, this can do it too. It does it better than the HD600, but obviously it's not like a bass headphone. So if you're really into hip hop, you're really into anything like EDM, you might want to look at something else like a Fostex maybe, something with a bit more bass, like thump, to really give you that visceral sense of bass. But yeah, I hope this review was helpful for anyone looking at these headphones. If you have any comments, questions, anything like that, feel free to just comment below, and I'd be happy to respond to you if I have time. And yeah, thanks for watching, and hopefully see you in the next video. Cheers, thanks.